Hey everybody, welcome to Nick's Mic, the podcast where we talk about life hacks to yield success. This podcast is a platform where we host the goal achievers, extract their immense knowledge, and learn how they became heroes in their own professions. Today with me is Miss Smita Goswamy, founder of HR Solutions and a management consultant with immense experience and in-depth knowledge of the finest practices in human resources and organizational development processes. Welcome, Smita, to Nick's Mic, and please introduce yourself and your company for the benefit of our listeners.
Thank you, Dr. Niketu. Thank you, first of all, inviting me to your podcast. And I feel quite privileged to be part of this interview session.
The pleasure is all mine.
So maybe we can, I would like to share that I'm an entrepreneur. I founded my company, HR Solutions, almost 24 years back.
That's amazing.
I'm very proud that I have an all-woman team for the last 24 years. So I believe that women empowerment has been one of my biggest passions since I started my business. I've worked extensively with corporates, small business owners, helping them in recruitments, helping them in bringing about change, business change in their HR processes. And recently, I have also authored a book. It is an Amazon bestseller.
That's really good to know. Congratulations.
And it is for family-run businesses, and it talks about the challenges that they face and how they can navigate through them.
That's wonderful. Is there anything you don't do?
Yes, I don't waste time. That's what I don't do.
That's good to know. Okay, just a few more awareness points for you. Smita, you were recently recognized amongst the top 10 recruitment and HR consultants. Do share how this whole journey began.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question because it takes me back to the day when it all started. So I myself belong to the corporate world. I, in fact, started my career with the banking industry. And when I got married, I had to change. I had to move from Bombay to Baroda.
Right.
And that's when I thought, I looked at what were the opportunities here. And I realized that there weren't too many people and there weren't too many opportunities wherein people could get placed or their talent was being recognized.
Right.
So I thought that instead of waiting around, why not start a company which fulfills the need that I had. So that's how I started out with HR Solutions. And this journey, like I said before, is 24 years and we complete 25 years next year. And it's been a roller coaster ride, a lot of ups, a lot of downs. But if I look back, it's been wonderful.
Wonderful. And that's simply amazing to know you're finishing 25 years by now. That's brilliant. So this BSFI hiring, that is the banking and financial services, I think you guys were the pioneers. Am I correct?
You're absolutely right. In fact, most of the banks that want to set up their operations in India,
Correct.
or insurance companies when they come to India,
Yes.
we are among their preferred vendor because we have been around for 24 years in this space when we hire. We also pioneered the concept of recruitment process outsourcing for an leading insurance company,
Okay.
wherein we help them set up 100 offices in a period of 3 years at a pan-India level. So that's the kind of work that we do with the banking and financial services across India, that we help them get talent all across all levels, across all locations.
That's really nice to know, Smita. So Nick's Mic, the podcast, is exponentially growing. The listeners are growing day by day, probably minute by minute. And some of our listeners are basically newcomers, newbies in the society, in the industry. Can you share some tips for the freshers?
Absolutely. So, in fact, first of all, I would like to share with the freshers that they are in a time when there is a lot of job opportunities for them. There are a lot of people who are willing to offer them jobs. So, the one thing that they need to do is they need to make sure that they have the right skills. So, it's not just having an academic qualification. They need to have the skills. The second is they need to be visible. So they need to make sure that their profiles, their resumes are spread across the entire social media and people know that they're looking out for jobs.
Okay.
The third thing is that whenever they approach a possible employer, they should be very genuine and honest,
Absolutely.
because the person is able to judge whether the person is genuine enough and will take up the offer and would want to work for the organization.
True.
So these are the three things that I would advise to the freshers who are starting off their
And they
career.
would be so vulnerable because it's a new thing for them. Like people like you are the one who can really guide them correctly.
Sure, absolutely.
So technology has overgrown everything. I mean, the last couple of years, if you see how technology has taken over almost everything, it's just crazy. Has it taken an impact in the recruitment industry? Is technology also relevant with the recruitment industry?
It's absolutely, in fact, it's changed the face, it's changed the way that recruitment and hiring is done. I would say that post-pandemic, 70% of interviews are all online.
Right.
People don't even need to go to an employer's workspace to give an interview.
True.
Onboarding, training, hiring process is completely automized. So technology currently is playing a very big role in the way recruitment is done in large corporates, and it is something that small and medium business owners can adopt to make it a more efficient process.
Correct.
So it has really taken over a lot of manual processes that were done, things that would take like interviews, hiring process would take months. The time has now become 3 days. That's
Seriously?
it. 3 days.
That's amazing.
3 days you can actually have an entire set of interviews, complete the process of filtering, offer to the candidate and get them on board. So technology is really playing a big part as far as our industry is concerned.
It's crazy to know. And jumping from all the newcomers to the senior professionals who already are in the business for many, many years, and they are near the end, the fag end of life, where they're reaching around 50, 55, they always suffer from this midlife crisis kind of a thing, like what they're going to do once they're retired or once they've been told to get out. You have any suggestions or any guidelines for them?
So, yeah, it is definitely a challenge. There are a lot of people who are, stuck in their careers and they feel that they're going nowhere. So my advice to them is that, after a certain period of time, we just make it like a routine when we do our work. We feel that we know everything and we don't try to add new value or bring in fresh skill set to ourselves. So the first tip that I would like to give to senior professionals is see how you can grow and invest in yourself, acquire new skills, get new education, look at certifications, and make sure that whatever work that you're doing, you have added more value when you are doing your job.
To your resume.
The second thing is that instead of looking around for validation that, okay, or even looking out for money, it is important that they build their importance in the organization they already are.
Okay.
They tend to feel that, okay, my organization does not value, but that's not true. Every organization values someone who's got, say, 20 or 25 years of experience with them tucked in. It is just about making it visible to them,
Right.
about the kind of work that they do. So stability is something which companies really value.
Right.
If they've already been in an organization for 2 years, it makes sense for them to build on whatever they are doing, add value by getting new skills, and make sure that whatever they are doing is visible to the top management or their bosses, and that will help them when they're trying to when they're facing this crisis or challenge in their career.
Absolutely. So, Smita, just to add on to this point, can you elaborate on adding on to the skills? What extra are they supposed to do at this age?
So, for example, like we mentioned, technology. Many of the people who come from the earlier generations are not very comfortable with technology. They are not willing to learn on new tools, new applications, new software. Now, like I said, in the hiring process, something which took months has now been reduced to 3 days. If they can use software analysis to help them provide better information or take better decisions, or do better reporting,
True.
that's when they will be valued by their organization. So one is adopting and adapting to new technology.
Right.
The second thing is that probably in the beginning of our careers, we look at a management course, or we look at learning about a new concept or a new strategy. So, working on their knowledge skills as well. Probably redoing a short management course from a well known institute will really help and add to their credibility.
Okay.
The third thing that I would like to share with them is that the workforce is changing.
True.
The way a leader managed their team 20 years back and the way he manages today, he or she, is totally different because the new generation is different.
Right.
So if they can understand how the new generation works and how to manage them as a team, these three skills will really take them far and help them solve this midlife crisis.
Absolutely, because that's what they really need to learn if they want to remain in the business.
Absolutely.
And when we're talking of change, I think the biggest change came when COVID came into this world. The existence of COVID really messed up a lot of things. So many people got their jobs laid off and all. Did it affect the hiring landscape?
It did, absolutely. Like I mentioned before, that's when a lot of more technology started getting used in the hiring process. There also became a concept of work from home.
Absolutely.
That's what started, that was introduced during the pandemic. And many companies realized that there are so many roles or there are so many types of jobs that are done in the organization when the people do not need to come to the office at all.
True.
So work from home, earlier which was looked down upon, suddenly became something which could work, where the employees could be happy, and at the same time the productivity level of the organization could be sustained and the cost could come down.
Definitely.
A lot of banks and large IT companies actually renegotiated their lease rentals because they realized that we don't need to call everybody to the office on the same day.
Right.
So a lot of thought process and mindset towards how we should be working changed because of the pandemic.
So according to you, I think the employee would be less beneficial compared to the employer, because for them, not only were they able to reduce the cost, they had more efficient hours by the employee staying home and not commuting to the office and back.
So when it comes to work from home, both benefit. Employers benefit with reduced cost. Employers benefit because the employee is happy. They, like you said, they don't need to commute. They can work on their own time schedule, and they can also manage other activities that they were earlier not able to manage, which included their own health or taking care of their children as well.
True.
So work from home has worked for both, for employers and employees, and hence it is a concept which is still continuing. In fact, a lot of IT companies have now introduced hybrid models wherein people will just need to come in possibly once a week or twice a week, and if required basis, for a few roles.
Okay. The most burning issue, Smita, retention of staff. Something even I face a massive problem. There was a study, I read it in Business Standard, that 64% of the time we have a problem in retention of good people.
Right.
So how do we work on that?
You're absolutely right. After the great resignation, we did face that post the pandemic when the workforce came back. Now companies are really facing the pressure. I think 64% would be a very, subdued figure. I think each and every corporate or business owner is facing the pressure of retention.
Right.
And the reason for that is the way we treat our employees.
True.
So many of the employees were judging their employer during the pandemic in the sense that did they value them?
Okay.
Did they give them the health benefits that were required? Did they sustain salaries or did they cut salaries? If there was no work, how were they treated? So it just opened their eyes that possibly my employer is not really concerned about my well-being and is more concerned about money. And
So,
that went in a very negative way as far as employees.
To just put a different perspective to the whole thing. I mean, it's also pretty unfair to the person who has hired, because they also have continuous costs coming. And if their productivity has gone down, how do they manage?
So, the point I would like to make here is that it's very important that we talk about value and not about monetary costs or in terms of salary. So, the employee should see value in working for an organization, and an organization should be able to see value in the person that they've hired. The second thing is that giving recognition. Most of the companies feel that just because I've given my salary, the person is entitled to work for me. But at the end, we're talking about a human being.
Absolutely.
So the human being needs to be recognized for the work and the contribution that they're giving to the organization, although they're getting the salary. But recognizing their small wins, recognizing a good decision that they made, recognizing the fact that they have added to, they've helped in the percentage increase in the turnover or the profitability, or they've solved a client problem, or they've managed a client well. Recognizing them in an open forum is very, very important.
True.
The third thing is that many people feel that employees are going to run away with secrets, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So they don't give them enough information.
Right.
That's one. Two is they feel that employees need to be, they just need to follow orders. Now, very few people will be able to work in that environment. So every employer needs to go back and see what is the culture that they are creating in their organization. Is it a culture of recognition? Is it a culture wherein an employee feels valued? Is it a culture wherein the employee feels that they have some authority and they are adding value to the day-to-day basis also?
Absolutely.
If an employer can work on those aspects, the employee is very likely to stick to an organization and they will have better retention rates.
And remain more helpful.
Loyal, and the right word would be more accountable for the job that they have taken up and they've been hired for.
So this problem is for small scale industries, also for major corporates.
So the challenge is same everywhere, whether it is large corporates, whether it's banks, whether it is small business owners. Each and every organization is facing the same challenge of retention. The only difference is that large corporates have specialized teams who work on this, who say possibly work on hiring or retention.
True.
And hence they are able to solve or do some firefighting. Whereas small business owners are generally operating by themselves, or they have a very lean team and they're not able to focus and firefight in the right way. And that's when I say, also the fact is that a lot of large corporates do have help of consultants like us, which helps them firefight a lot of problems when it comes to hiring or retention. Small business owners can really take advantage of consultants and their expertise and make sure that they are able to, build that right culture, that even if a new person joins their organization, they are able to retain them.
To absorb inside the
So
organization.
it is a famous saying that people don't leave because of a better salary, but they leave because of the boss who they report into.
That's something
And
people have
that's
to learn.
so that's very, very crucial, that what is the culture and what is the leadership, how are they behaving with the people, that will impact the retention of any organization, whether big or small.
Right. Smita, one daunting question which has already there in the existence is the last 2 quarters in US, the GDP rate data has gone down, the inflation is going up, and it's officially been declared as a recession now. So in recession, what's going to happen is many people are going to start losing their jobs. So where do you see the future for the employer as well as the employee?
So while you're right that things are quite grim for the US, they are quite grim in Europe, but India seems to be on a different path, right? India has only 2% of its depending on exports.
Okay.
The rest is all consumed by the local population itself.
True.
So if it is a business, it is a service, it is a large corporate which is catering to the Indians, they are not going to face the recession that the rest of the world is facing.
Absolutely.
Right? So, what the employers need to do is that if they are purely catering to India, whether it's a product, it's a service, whether it's manufacturing, then they can be rest assured and they can build robust teams.
Sure.
If it is an organization which is into exports and trading and they're going to get severely affected by the recession that is coming up, they should hold on to their employees.
Right.
And that's something that the pandemic has taught us. That while people let go, I mean, in fact, the hotel industry is struggling today. The aviation industry is struggling.
Absolutely.
They said 2 years, no work, let's let go of people. What they didn't plan was that there's going to be revenge travel.
Exactly.
There is going to be people who are going to want to take holidays
And then
immediately
who's
after
gonna come
that.
back to you?
And if you do not have a trained staff, when people want to come back to you, you are losing opportunities.
Absolutely, totally.
So while a person or an organization is, if they feel that they are going to get affected by the recession that's happening across the world, then they should retain their team, even if it's a small team. Keep working on their team. So as and when things look up,
Right.
they are in a space
They
to
already
actually
have the
respond.
required
Yeah,
staff.
they
Correct.
respond to
True.
what is happening,
Absolutely.
what their clients want. Right? So it's very critical that we understand that our employees are our assets.
Right.
We will not be able to function at the scale if we don't have a team in place.
Absolutely.
So, investing time in hiring the right people, investing time in retaining them by giving them a good culture, investing time in training them and building their capabilities will ensure that when the time is right, you are prepared as an organization to take on the challenge and the opportunity that comes in front of you.
Right. So for an organization to invest into so many things, don't waste time. Just meet her because she does the same job. So just tell us why any corporate would like to come and connect to you. Then so many other, I'm sure, consultants are there in Baroda, Gujarat and India. But what is your USP?
So the first USP that is we have is that we specialize in a particular industry sector. So we specialize in banking and financial services.
Okay.
So we've been working in that area for the last 24 years.
Right.
So just the fact that we have seen people join the industry and now they would be possibly heading a vertical or a bank as well.
True.
So our network within this industry is really strong.
Okay.
We have a dedicated team which works on all the assignments. The average vintage of my team
Yeah.
is 15 years. They've been with me for 15 odd years. So they absolutely understand the kind of process, the way we handle clients and how to execute the process smoothly.
Right.
The third thing is we stand by our commitments. So time is a big issue when it comes to hiring. Most of the consultants promise but fail to deliver. So we do not follow that practice at all. In fact, we make sure that if we have taken up an assignment, we deliver 100%. And we stand by our client through thick and thin. So even during 8 months of during the pandemic when there was no hiring, we were working every day and supporting our clients in gathering data, doing research. So they never felt that they were alone. So ups and downs are going to happen. Pandemics come and go. In the last 24 years, we've seen 2 recessions.
Absolutely.
We've seen the pandemic. We've seen we've seen the IT bubble burst. We've seen the banking go through a big depression. So we've stood by our clients.
Right.
Our client associations go back 18 years. So we are empanel vendors with a few of our clients since the last 18 years. And they renew our services year on year. So that speaks a lot that we want to be, and our motto is that we want to be a reliable partner to any of our clients. And that's a reason why we are selected and given a preference over other vendors.
Smita, that was amazing. Thank you so very much for all the enlightening talks and making our listeners understand as to how the employer and the employee need to take care of each other so that they can sustain each other and continue having a symbiotic relationship. Thank you so very much for coming. And my dear listeners, I hope you had a great time reading and understanding and listening to Smita Goswamy. Till the next episode, take care. See you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for having me.